Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter from Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. And I release my power rankings on a regular basis, weekly during the season. And today will be my first power rankings of the 2023 season. I realize that it's way too early. There's going to be players that cut some guys who other teams are able to go pick up to improve their roster. There's going to be some injuries in training camp. But where we sit today here in mid May is where I am doing today's post NFL draft power rankings. Excuse me. I'll be back later on in the preseason to give you those. And then, of course, I'll give you my power rankings just before the season starts and then weekly throughout the year. I think it allows me to go through and you can understand my thinking process, what goes into my thought process as we look at the entire NFL. And yes, we take a long look at the Las Vegas Raiders. First of all, my power rankings at number one, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I understand this is a Raider emphasis channel. It's going to make a lot of people mad. But like Ric Flair of the WWE says, to be the man, you got to beat the man. And the Chiefs are always there. They're in contention. They have excellent coaching. They've drafted very well. So even though they lose players, you see the fact that they keep winning. They're able to go out and draft, plug and play some guys, occasionally get a free agent, but they do it the way that it should be done. They're doing it the way that Mark Davis hopes the Raiders are doing it. And until they can be beat, um, I'm sorry. I think that this is to be the man, you got to beat the man. My number two team is the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I'm going to be honest. I actually like the Eagles better than I like the Chiefs. But like I said, you go by winning losses. It's not about would you, should you, could you. It's like when I hear, fans will scream and say, but it was a fluke win. Well, would you rather have a fluke win or a fluke loss? And every year you get some fluke wins and every year you get some fluke losses. I remember after the 21 season, a lot of people were bemoaning the Raiders and Raider Nation making the playoffs, saying, well, they limped in. They got teams when they were injured. Okay, well, would you have rather that happen last year when there was some fluke losses? Or did you like being in the playoffs the year before? I think if you're being fair, the answer is you like being in the playoffs the year before. So I'm going to say right now, I think that the Eagles will be there and beat the Chiefs if they have a rematch in the Super Bowl. I think. Long time to go to change my opinion. But until they beat them, Kansas City remains at number one. The Eagles remained at number two. And this is really my list of contenders. I've only got a few teams. In fact, I've only got 6 teams that I think have a legitimate shot at the Super Bowl. The third team is the Cincinnati Bengals. This team is scrappy. They fight, they claw, they've got the mentality of their quarterback. I really like the Bengals. I think when you look at them, there's a lot of reasons to think they're really close. If a Jalen Hurts or goes down and is injured, or if you see a Patrick Mahomes get injured, they could certainly move up those power rankings. It would not surprise me to see the Cincinnati Bengals in the Super Bowl. But as of today, I have them in number 3 in my power rankings. The fourth team in my power rankings is the Buffalo Bills. There is so much to like about this team. I really like Josh Allen. I love the way he fights. I like the way he competes. The guy will play injured. This team reflects him, and I think they reflect him very well. So for me, I got them at number 4. I think the Buffalo Bills, I would not be shocked if they won a Super Bowl. Do I think they're a favorite? No, but I wouldn't be shocked if they did. Again, got a little bit of some blemishes there, but certainly they have the talent to overcome it. And if you see one or two teams that are ahead of them lose some key players, they certainly could step up. Again, they're my fifth team. I mean, my fourth team. My fifth team is the Baltimore Ravens. I love their defense. I love Lamar. I think for the first time in Lamar's career, he has a full complement of offensive weapons around him. Now, this is very important because I think Lamar has a lot to prove. Listen, I think he's a good quarterback. I think clearly what he's done proves a lot. But now he's got weapons. There's always been excuses for him. Well, he didn't have weapons or this or that. And let me say, they were legitimate excuses. They weren't illegitimate. But now I think there's a lot of pressure on Lamar, and I think he'll prove it. I think he'll prove it. I think he's a guy that, a couple injuries ahead of them, or perhaps he shows us more than he has shown us in the past with those weapons, and they can move up those power rankings really quick. Finally, in my list of contenders, I have the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I want to say something because their quarterback situation is screwed up. It's time to end the Trey Lance experiment. Everything I'm hearing is that Brock Purdy is ready. He's going to be fine. And in that type of offense, you're not asking him to go out and throw for 450 yards. You're asking him to not make mistakes, hand the ball off, trust the defense. When he does pass, there's play actioning. I'm sorry. I don't think there's a coach in the NFL who calls a game based on the talent on the field as good as the 49ers coach Shanahan. And again, I've got him there. As long as the experiment is over and Brock Purdy's healthy, I've got him at 6. The next level of teams is what I call good but not great. And in this group, I put at 7 the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not a Dallas Cowboy fan. They're perennial underachievers. I mean, is there a coach, not coach, a franchise who perennially accomplishes less with more than the Cowboys? Lots of talent. I think Mike McCarthy's a decent coach. I'm not saying he's not. But man, I'm sorry. If I was the Cowboys, I would have went all in and tried to get Sean Payton personally. I think Sean Payton's a significantly better coach than Mike McCarthy. But with all that talent, they always find a way of getting in their own way. The Cowboys always find a way of just costing themselves something. There's always going to be drama created or whatever it may be. So again, I have them there because of the talent, but I don't expect them to be true contenders. Next, I have the New York Jets and Jets, Jets. I want to say this really quick. I'm a big fan of Robert Saleh. I think he's a really good coach. Go green, go white. And that's not for the Jets, Michigan State. But I think he's a great coach. They have a great defense. I think they have some interesting weapons. I'm just not sold that you mortgage your franchise. You put 60 million into Aaron Rodgers, who is a guy that consistently blames his teammates. He's not a guy, I know a lot of guys that have played with him or around him. He's not a guy who's well liked. A couple of years ago, I was eating dinner with a Packer. I was at an event and he was there. It was an event for a friend of mine who is an NFL player, and my friend explained to him that I could be trusted and talked to, and he talked about Aaron Rodgers. He said he's a great player. He said, but man, he's into himself. He's very much about him, and we play with him, but we don't play for him. And I thought that was fascinating. So I think the Jets. I'm going to make another statement that will probably shock some of you. I think they had other options at quarterback that would have made them a better team. They wouldn't have had to put so much money into Aaron Rodgers. They could have went and got even more tools. I'm just not sold on Aaron Rodgers at all. I think this was a desperate move by the Jets, and I think this was a mistake. But the talent's there and the coaching's there to say good, but not great. Then we come to our next level of players and teams. And this is a category I say, so you're saying there's a chance from the Dumb and Dumber movie. I think you got to look at the G-men, the New York Giants. It's hard to trust Daniel Jones, but I think last year you saw what a difference a coach makes. And I think if that franchise continues to do ball control, Saquon Barkley stays healthy, I think this team absolutely, if there's some injuries and maybe some teams fall, that they could jump up and get into that contention phase. I know that's hard to believe after only 1 year with a new coach, but man, he's a good one. And I think we saw enough from them last year over a pattern of time to feel that way about the G-men. And I've got them in my power rankings at number 9. At 10, I have the Seattle Seahawks, one of the best motivators in the NFL, a terrific elite coach, a great, like I said, a great motivator. All the weapons on defense. They can run the ball. They've got a quarterback in Geno Smith, and they've got other weapons there. Certainly, he's not the only quarterback there. I think they've got some guys who could step up and compete. But I think when you look at this Seahawks team, the line, you look at the defense, you look at all of it, got to have them as a contender. Do I think they're great? No, but are they good? They certainly are. And I thought, without a doubt, Pete Carroll was coach of the year last year. Then you come in to my 11th ranked team, and this may shock a lot of you. I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are perennial also rans in the National Football League, but not anymore. They've been quietly building. I like what they're doing. I love their coaching staff. They've got a lot of young players. They've got Trevor Lawrence, who I know a lot of NFL fans have dogged him, but I can tell you in the league, everybody still believes in him. That just Jaguars team had zero talent when he got there. And I've got them moving up quickly. Again, are they elite? Nope. Are they contenders? No, I'm saying so there's a chance. But if you ever saw that or understand that quote in context from the movie, I think it was Dumb and Dumber. Um, I think it puts it in perspective for you. Again, I think they're a franchise on the rise. Don't think they're a contender. I don't think they're in that second group, but I think they're in that third group that you're saying there's a chance. Number 12, you come to the Detroit Lions. Now, in the interest of fair disclosure, I'm from the state of Michigan. I'm a Michiganian, Nevadan now. Thank the good Lord. Glad to live here. But when you're born in Michigan, there are so many good things about the state of Michigan. It's beautiful. The hunting and fishing is amazing. But there are some drawbacks to being born in the Michigan. And one of them is you're raised a Lions fan. And just when you think they're getting their franchise together, they go out and act like the old Lions. The draft made no sense. Your running game was no issue at all. It wasn't anywhere close to a problem. You revamped that, which just makes no sense. They just did some really stupid stuff, which you want to believe in the Lions. I mean, even if you didn't grow up in Michigan, come on, you feel some kind of sympathy for them. And they're there. I mean, I got them at 12. And had they had the offseason that I think they should have, I think I would have had them even a little bit higher. But no, there's a chance, yes, but I'm not buying. Bad offseason. Then you go to number 13, where I have the Bolts, the LA Chargers. And I'm going to make a couple statements here that I've made before and I'll make again. I think this is a team that's loaded with talent, a terrific young quarterback. This is a very good team with a very bad coach. He costs them 1 or 2 games a year. And so you can't put this team higher when you got a coach who's automatically going to give 1 or 2 wins away. I'm sure he's a fine man. I'm not attacking his integrity. I'm not attacking his character, his honor as a human being. He's just not a good coach. He just makes too many mistakes. Could he learn from those mistakes? Sure, he can. Do I expect him to? No. And I have the Bolts at 13, and quite frankly, could be higher. If Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy for all 17 games, I'll make this prediction right here. I think that the Raiders finish with a better record than the Bolts, and I think the Bolts have more talent. So that should tell you what I think of the Bolts. Then you come in at 14, and it's the Miami Dolphins. You want to believe in this team. You want to believe in Tua Tagovailoa. Great guy, great player, all the intangibles. But the reality is he just can't stay healthy. And when you have to deal with that, sure, there's a ton of talent. But okay, it disrupts the team when he's got to go out. I'm sorry. Tua is a lot like Jimmy Garoppolo. Show me you can go out there and be ready for 18 weeks, 17 games. Do it, and I'll have your team higher. If Tua was healthy and you could count on him, I'd have this team higher. But I'm sorry, I can't do it until Tua proves me wrong. I want to believe in him. I really like that kid a lot, both as a player and a human being, a lot like Trevor Lawrence. But until he shows it to me, I'm sorry. Trevor Lawrence, I'll tell you how good I think Trevor Lawrence is. You switch him and Tua, I think the Dolphins are up on my contender list. That tells you how good I think Trevor Lawrence is. But I'm not sold on Tua right now. And I realize that that's sacrilegious. A lot of people are going to be mad, but I believe in him. I think he's a great player, just like I do with Jimmy Garoppolo. Both players, I think, are great players. A lot of talent, a lot of ability, good character. But I'm sorry, to get where you want to go, you have to get, to me, you have to be healthy. The best ability is availability, and I don't see it there with them. So, for whatever it's worth, send in the hate mail. I know it's coming from my comments on Tua. Then I come to number 15 with the Minnesota Vikings. In the interest of fair disclosure, I love Kirk Cousins, good buddy, know his family really well. Great, great young man, great family, wonderful wife, just a great person. But their defense is terrible. I'm sorry. I don't. If you didn't have Kirk in the offense you did, you'd be down in the low 20s. But instead, you're sitting right here at 15 because of your horrible, horrible defense. Sorry, bad. Then you come to 16, and I have the New England Patriots. Now, I want to address a couple things here with the New England Patriots. I mentioned the word sacrilegious a minute ago. It's almost sacrilegious to say that a Bill Belichick coach team has questions on defense, but they do. I think Bill O'Brien is a very good offensive mind. He'll be great for Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is a really, really good quarterback that Bill Belichick almost ruined last year, trying to prove he's the smartest man in the room. I think the offense will score enough points. Their defense has a lot of question marks, not like the Vikings, but I think they're a more balanced team between a good offense and a defense. That I've got them sitting at 16, but I think they maybe sneak into the playoffs or one game out. I think they will lose to the Raiders, but I think they have some other games that are more favorable to them. So I've got the Patriots sitting at 16. 17, I have the New Orleans Saints. This is a team that's got a lot of talent, but they're aging in the tooth. This is a team that just, matter of fact, I want to go back because it's going to fit with something here. To Bill Belichick and the Patriots at 16. It almost feels like we're watching the end of an era. Last year with Bill Belichick, and I may be wrong, he may turn around and make the playoffs and make a run this year. He certainly has the talent. But last year with his experiments on offense, it was almost like all ego trying to prove how smart I am. And I think he hurt his franchise. Okay, now going to the Saints. This is a team that's long in the tooth. Their cap issues all over the place. They've got a lot of talent, but it's older. And doesn't mean there isn't some young things on there. But man, I just don't see it. I think that Derek Carr is going to find himself in the same position he found himself many of his years with the Raiders, and that's he's got a decent offense, but not a great defense. Then you come to 18, where I have the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I want to make it clear. I've predicted that they go 9-8. I've also said that in my prediction, you can't account for injuries. And if Jimmy Garoppolo stays healthy, I think that they're a better than 18 team. I still think they get to 9 wins and go 8, but I think they would move up a little higher than 18. Not much, but a little. But this season, there are some defensive question marks. I think that's fair. The defensive backfield is better. I think adding Spillane in the middle was great. I think you got some high expectations for some guys. I think they're still going to bring in at least one more linebacker. Um, I think the defensive line is better. So I think the defense is improved. I don't think it's elite yet, but I think it's better. And quite frankly, if Jimmy Garoppolo stays healthy, I do think the offense is better. So they're at 18. That's where the Raiders sit with me in kind of a breakdown. Like I said, I still don't think the roster's done. I still think there are some trades. I think there are some guys that could get cut. I think there's a lot more for the Raiders. But again, this is my post NFL draft. We haven't even started OTAs or mini camps, but other than the rookie mini camp. But I've got them sitting at 18. At 19, you have the Pittsburgh Steelmen. Now, let me just say something. I think Mike Tomlin is the best coach in the National Football League. I don't always think that the Steelers go get him the most weapons. I think they hung on to Roethlisberger too long, but that's the way that franchise is. They're very loyal. I admire it and I respect it. I'll never bet against Mike Tomlin. So I still think he gets to 500. I just don't know that with the weapons he has, he's a contender. I think you're going to see the Raiders beat the Steelmen this year. And again, I'm not betting about against Mike Tomlin. I'm just looking at that roster, and I think Mike Tomlin gets them to 500 because Mike Tomlin's a coach. Just put it right there. But if the Chargers coach was the head of Pittsburgh, I would have him down in the low 20s, mid to low 20s. But Tomlin's Tomlin. He's elite. Then you come to number 20, and this is the Tennessee Titans. They desperately need an offensive tackle. They go out and draft one. If he can step up, I think, that he'll be huge. They are a ball control team. They've got Derrick Henry, who I think's the best running back in the NFL. I know a lot of people will be angry at me in Raider Nation saying, look at Josh Jacobs. I agree. I think Josh Jacobs is I think Derrick Henry's 1A and he's 1B. But I see Derrick Henry make things happen when there isn't holes. He's able, it's like in basketball when a player can create his own shot. Derrick Henry hasn't always had the best offensive line. I'm not saying it's been bad, but there have been times where you watch him when Taylor Lewan is injured or whatever, and you watch him create. I think his ability to create puts him one step up ahead of Josh Jacobs. And I still think Josh Jacobs is 1B, but you don't see Josh creating like Derrick Henry does in small spaces. I am hearing out of Tennessee that they are very impressed with Will Levis. I find that fascinating. I'm certainly going to watch it closely. It's not like he's been competing against the varsity. He was doing rookie mini camps, but I know that they're playing well and talking to some people close to the situation. I was told today that if he plays this way in training camp, like he did in rookie camp, and that's a big if. It's one thing to go against other rookies and free agents and stuff, but you're going to be competing against the big boys, and the Tennessee Titans are the big boys. So I'm not saying it's close at all, but I was told if he competed and spun the ball the way he did, that this person told me they'd be shocked if he wasn't the starter. So again, fascinating things with the Titans. I have them that low just because of the issues. But there you go. My next group is the ones I call not seeing it. And at 21, I have the Denver Broncos. Now, I want to say a couple things here. I think Sean Payton is a great coach. I don't think that Sean Payton is a Hall of Fame coach like a Bill Parcells, excuse me, at all. So I think you went out and got a great coach. Automatic upgrade because the only coach worse than the Denver coach last year was the Chargers coach. And you go get a great coach. He's a top 8 coach in this league right now. Maybe even top 5. But I don't think he's Hall of Famer yet. Now, I think a lot of people, because the Broncos were so bad last year, lost sight that there still is a lot of weapons on that team. Now, Russell Wilson, who I think is a great person, I think he's a great player. I think he's great in every area. But he's not the Russell Wilson he used to be. Now, the advantage to him is that Sean Payton's going to call a game and call plays and call things like Shanahan in San Francisco that will play to Russell Wilson's strength. but I just don't think those strengths are strong enough to get this team into playoff contention. So if the Raiders are able to keep Garoppolo upright and he plays all 17 games, I think the Raiders would finish second in the AFC West behind the Bolts. If they don't, I think they finish third. But I think the Denver Broncos have some holes, and I'm just not sold that this team. I'm not sold that Sean Payton can make a big enough um, impact to get him into the playoffs. Now, go look at my predictions. I predicted a loss for the Raiders, one loss against them. Um, it doesn't mean I don't think they're going to be extremely better. They are, but I still think they're a little bit of ways away, and it's not going to happen with Russell. And with Russell's contract, they're married to him. I mean, married. It's like the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. So for right now, I have the Broncos right there. Again, I like Sean Payton. Now, if he gets this team into the playoffs this year, then I think he deserves to be in the discussion of a Bill Parcells type. I don't think he's there, so let's wait and see. Then you come to 22 with the Cleveland Browns. Now, I'm going to make a few statements here. I'm not a fan of Deshaun Watson, and it doesn't have anything to do with his off the field issues. That's you can have morality debates, but that's not the purpose of this podcast. It's not the way we do things. So we're going to set that off to the side. But I'm not a fan of him. I don't see where he's made people around him better. So that means he can't be great. I've told you what Irvin Magic Johnson told me. Good players can't be great unless they make other players better. And you don't see that with him. You just don't see it. I'm not sold on him. People that are close to the situation, I had one person tell me they're not sold on him. So do I think he's a good quarterback? Yeah. Do I think he's great? Nope. Do I think he deserves the contract he got? Oh, no. But they're married now. Cleveland Browns are married to him. Ooh, good night, Irene. So I just don't see it. And that's why I put not seeing it. I've got the Cleveland Browns at 22, and I'm probably being a little nice. At 23, Green Bay Packers. Now, I like this team. I think they were smart to get away from Aaron Rodgers. I think Jordan Love is a guy that we don't know what he can do, but there's a lot of weapons around him. So if he proves that he can't do it, they've got a ton of weapons and a decent defense for the next quarterback. But I think this is a team that's on the rise. It's coming. I think Cleveland has some more weapons around it, or let's just say some more proven things around it. That's why I have them higher in the power rankings. But I've got the pack sitting right there. But I think they're better, and I think they're going to be better long term that they moved on from Aaron Rodgers. Then you again, and I want to double check it, but I think it was 23. Yeah, I had the pack at 23. Now we come to 24, and this is my section I says I'm saying not even a chance. These are teams that I just don't I can't even in my mind fathom a way that one of them becomes a Super Bowl contender. Now watch, somebody will. But when you look at this, at 24, I got the Carolina Panthers. I love the coaching staff. I love the foundation that was laid by Matt Rhule, who's now at Nebraska. I love the pick of Bryce Young, other than his height, but he's proven durable. If he can stay durable in the NFL, I think the Carolina Panthers are coming now. This is a young team, but they're coming. And I think they're going to be really good for a long time if Bryce Young continues to demonstrate, and he has the ability to stay healthy. Then you come to 25, the Atlanta Falcons. What am I going to say? Well, they're trying to be relevant. Emphasis on trying. Ooh. Then you come to 26, the Indianapolis Colts. Now, Atlanta has more talent. The Colts certainly have some talent there, but I'm going to tell you right now, I am not a buyer on Anthony Richardson. The guy, now let me quickly say, I don't think there are the character issues with Anthony Richardson that you saw with Jamarcus Russell. But Jamarcus Russell had the big, in fact, Jamarcus Russell won more than Anthony Richardson at Florida. But both men, big, strong, athletic, terrific talents. I think Anthony Richardson is exponentially better character-wise than Jamarcus Russell. This has nothing to do with his character. But he hasn't demonstrated to me an ability to win. He doesn't have a million reps. I think people fell in love with this God-given size, strength, speed. But I can name a bunch of guys who didn't have size, strength, or speed, but won football games. The quarterback position is about a lot more than, size, strength, and speed. So I've got the Indianapolis Colts at 26. 27, I've got the LA Rams. They mortgaged everything to get a Super Bowl, and they did. They're rebuilding. They're getting rid of a lot of talent. This is a team that is missing a ton of talent. It's hard to believe they were in the Super Bowl just a couple years ago. But this is a team I've got sitting at 27, just too many holes to fill. And I think Sean McVay's a really good coach. I think there's some good players on that team. But I just am not seeing it. Every time I look at that roster, you just don't see it. 28th, I got the Bears. They finally got themselves a good GM. They are a team that's got a lot of young talent on it, still a lot of holes, but they've got some stuff now around Justin Fields. I think they're going to start to progress and move forward. I mean, Justin Fields, the lack of talent around him should have been embarrassing for every Bear fan. And I don't see him this year being a contender at all, but I see them on the rise. I see them on the come. And that's a team, I think, just like with Carolina, I believe in them. I think that they've got a bright future. At 29, I have the Washington Commanders. If you're like me and you believe that everything rises and falls on leadership, all you have to do is smell the stench coming from the owner's box. And that's a franchise to me that is in disarray. Obviously, I expect the team to be sold by the time the season starts, but that's not a time for a new owner to put his mark on a franchise and on a team. I just think the once proud Washington Commanders. I hope I said Commanders earlier. If I didn't, forgive me. I'm an old man. They were the other team for a long time, but the Commanders are a team that I think there's a lot of good people in the organization. I think there's a lot of good people in leadership and coaching, and I think there's some good players on that team. But it's just in such disarray. Dan Snyder, what he's done, in my opinion, is just brutal to that team, and I have them a lot lower than they should be. If the team is able to get a new owner and put all the drama out of its mind, I think they could be seriously better, but not contenders. At 30, I have the Houston Texans. I like what they did in the draft, but there are just so many holes, just so many holes. This franchise has been so poorly run, led, and Lovie Smith got a raw deal. I don't believe well, never mind. Let's just say Lovie Smith got a really bad deal, but Lovie Smith, I don't think anyone thought was going to be there after last season. And but I like where the franchise is growing now. I think that's a team on the come. But man, they've got more holes than Carolina. They just got some really big holes, and I just can't get them above 30. When you get to 31, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They wagered everything on their Super Bowl. It was worth it. And now they're empty. It's going to be a rebuilding, but there should be no complaining from the pirate ship. They did their job. They got their Super Bowl. And at 32, I have the Arizona Cardinals. I like Kyler Murray. I think he's an extremely talented young man. I'm not sold on the leadership of the team. I'm not sold on the talent level of the team. And I just, with a new scheme and all the newness coming in, even though I think they have more talent than a few teams, not a lot, but a few teams ahead of them, I just think that this is going to be a year of confusion and a year of rebuilding. And I have them at 32. So that is my 2023 post NFL draft power rankings. here on Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast, part of the Fans First Sports Network. Do me a quick favor, hit the subscribe button. Even take a minute. Would you share this with your friends if you would, please? We want to thank all of you. Literally, tens of thousands of you are watching our videos. We are growing exponentially, and we're super thankful for that. And we appreciate you being part of this with us. And let me know what you think in the comments. I do read them. And let me know what you think in the comments of where I have the team. And Jimmy Garoppolo, he goes 17 games. I certainly think that man has the Raiders a little bit higher than where I had them at 18. And it's going to be fascinating to watch. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you for taking the time to watch. Hope you enjoyed the article. God bless you, everybody. And we'll see you back here next time.